Hi everyone, thank you for joining today's live sharing section. My name is Teacher Stockchin and I'll be sharing with you today our live section. So let me go through with you what we are learning today. Today we are going to cover on the single unchanged concept. Now this session of live sharing, I have break down into 6 various topics that we'll be covering. Now this is the breakdown for the next following weeks. Okay, so the next 6 sections, the first one we are covering on single unchanged, followed by total unchanged, constant difference, all changing, equal concept, and work backwards. Now, our upper primary series are mainly covering more on heuristic skills. So most of those heuristic skills you might have learned it in your P5 or even in your primary 4. So these are more like a recap, and I also try to make those questions are also a combination of various topics. So it is a good revision for various key topics, as well as a revision for various heuristic skills that are very useful in your work problems. So let's recap on the first thing. Now, who can tell me what is single unchanged? Anyone can identify what fall under single unchanged? What is that? How do we know that question known as is how do we classify, or when I read a word problems, how do I know that, hey, this is asking me to calculate like single unchanged? Is there any keywords that I should be looking out for? So anyone knows what are the keywords that tells us that, hey, this is about single unchanged? Any idea? So I'm going to teach you how we can classify those questions, or when I read a question in my mind, how do I know that, this is matched to which heuristic skills? So let's take a look at the first question itself. So this is the question number 1. Okay, they mentioned that a group of students went for an excursion. 2/7 of the students were girls and the rest were boys. After 39 girls joined the group, the number of girls became 2 times more than the number of boys. Find the number of children in the end. Now, how do I know that this fall under single unchanged? Now, the key thing to take note of is it mentions 39 girls joined the group. Now, single unchanged referring to there's only one component or only one variables changes. So in this case, what variables do you think has changed? Okay, so hi, welcome to those who have just joined us. Today we are covering, okay, let me go, before we go through, we are covering the concept of single unchanged. Okay, so some of the numbers you will realize that it's very different, like from your P4 where you can't divide it by your basic timetable. It is because in P5 you're allowed to use calculator. So some of the numbers might be a little bit too big. Okay, I'll be helping you with the step. You don't have to worry. Hi, Bethany. Nice seeing you here. Okay, so hi, Lucas. So let's continue with this. Okay, so and when I come across with this question, when I read, first thing to do is always highlight keywords. So I ask myself, okay, what are some of the keywords that I should be highlighting? So I know that they say 2/7 of the students were girls and the rest were boys. Now, can someone help me with splitting out the number? So 2 referring to what? All the students or all the boys or just the girls? So they say 2/7. 2, when it's a fraction, the 2 goes to the first term. Now, 2/7 of the students were girls. The 2 is referring to the girls. So in this particular part, your girls is now 2 units. Now, 7 referring to all the students. So in terms of a total, you have it as 7 units. So how many units representing the boys? Remember, total is 7 units. Out of my 7 units, 2 units are girls. So 5 units, just boys. Hi, Lucas, it's up to you if you want to write it down or you can just listen to the explanation. Okay, and it's fine. So this is 5 units. Okay, so now I break down the numbers. I know my total for the girls is 7 units. The total students is 7. Yes, Faliha, go ahead and solve it. Okay, now when after 39 girls joined the group, the number of girls became 2 times more than the number of boys. Now, this is a little bit tricky. Now, if you read the statement, they mentioned 39 girls joined the group. Now, the girls became 2 times more than the number of boys. What is 2 times more than the number of boys? Is 2 times more the same as 2 times? Very good, Faliha. It just means it's 3 units. Now, key concept, a lot of students always mix up this part, or they did not read the questions carefully. Okay, mathematics word problems is not difficult. It's more about spotting the right keywords and understand what it means. So key thing, I always see students mix up 2 times more than, okay, it is not, okay, is not the same as, let me just give it space, 2 times more, 2 times of. Okay, so this is the key thing. To take note, 2 times more than is not the same as 2 times of. So we're now reading the question to take note. Okay, now, so key thing here, we know that the girls is now 2 times more, meaning the girls is 3 units, while the boys is 1. Okay, in this case, now Faliha, since you got an answer, could you let me know what method do you do? Okay, think about concept. Once we highlighted the keywords, okay, now once we highlight the keywords, the second thing we do is we need to think of a strategy to present your work. Now, for the P5 and for the P6 students, of course, you know you have already learned the topic of ratio. Now, for those on P4 going towards P5, now ratio is a topic that you're going to learn this year in P5. So I'm going to teach you using BCA, before, change, after method. Okay, it's the same concept as ratio. Nothing, it's the same thing. So before, let me just write it down. So I will have it as before, means what are the changes, what are the things before, what are the changes, change, and what happens after that. The total columns here, what we have your girls and your boys. Okay, so I'm going to list down what I understand for each of them. So let's go to before. In the before, we already understand that the girls is 2 units, whereas for the boys is 5. So under the girls, I'm going to put 2 units. And under the boys, I put 5 units. So this is my before. And what is my changes? Okay, change means what happens during the process. You mentioned about 39 girls joined the group. So under the girls, I added in more girls because they joined. So it becomes plus 39. There is no changes to the boys. Okay, then the girls become 2 times more than. Remember, 2 times more than means my boys is only 1. The girls is 2 times. More than means you have to add. So it became 3 units. Okay, so this is similar concept like a ratio, but because for the P4 going towards P5, they have not learned ratio. So I'm putting it in a BCA method. Now, if you do notice, okay, if you do take note, if that the boys remain unchanged. Boys remain unchanged. So I want to make the units the same. So 5 units and 1 unit, to make them the same, all of them has to multiply by 5. In order for the girls to become 15 units and the boys is 5 units. I want the boys to remain the same because there is no changes to the boys. The units must be the same. Now, once I make the unit the same, let's compare. Now, the girls from 2 units became 15 units. So what happened? How would they go from 2 units to become 15 units? So let's take note of what happens. Why is there an increase in my units? So because 39 girls join, so 15 units take away 2 units, give us 13 units. This 13 units is the changes. And these 13 units represent 39. As that 39 girls who join. So what will be the value of 1 unit? Can anyone help me with that? If 13 units stands for 39, So 1 unit will be, very good, Haoshen, 39 divided by 13, you get 3. Okay, so now I got the number of the value for 1 unit. The last part of the question asks for how many, find the number of children in the end. So let's observe in the end. Now, in the end is also the same as the table of after. So how many units are there? Bethany, calculate your answer again. Okay, under the after, I have 15 units of girls, 5 units of boys. So total, it forms, very good. Total, it will form, remember, 20 units. Yes, Haoshen, 15 units add with 5 units to get 20 units. This is your total. So to get the value, you take 20 units equivalent to 20 multiplied by 3 to get 60. So my answer will be 60. Yeah, so this is a combination where they combine with you fractions, okay? And then in terms of the statements, they are not so straightforward as your P3 and P4. In P5 and P6, the way to phrase it can be a little bit more tricky. You got to really pay attention to details. So this is one type of the basic single unchanged. They are very similar to what you have learned in your P4. Okay, so this is just a revision of what single unchanged is about. And next, we are going to work on another questions. Now, the next question, I increase the difficulty level of it. Okay, so this is the question. If you're keen, you can also work on it and let me know your answer. Now, in these questions, I combine fraction, percentage. Okay, so it's a combined the core topics that you need to learn in the upper primary. So let's take a read. Now, 2/3 of the people at a theater are adults. So same thing, always remember highlight keywords. 2/3 is the key number that I need to know. Oops, okay. 2/3 is the key number of the people at a theater are adults. So it tells me that 2 units is my adults. The rest of them are children, meaning this must be 1 unit. Okay, after 65 adults left the theater, the number of children becomes 75% of the total number of people who remained at the theater. Now, when I say 75%, what does that mean? Teacher, you mentioned about fraction, we put it into fraction, like you change it into units, but 75% is equivalent to what? Very good, Bethany, it's 3/4. Okay, 75%, okay, for those who are new to percentage, percentage is a little bit similar to what your fraction is like. So 75% is actually the same as you express 75 as 75 out of 100. Very good, Faliha. Yes, that's not 0.75. And you convert this into simplest form. Therefore, we can get it as 3/4. So when I deal with questions that uses percentage, the first thing I do is always change it to fraction, because I find that dealing with units is much easier than dealing it with a combine of like fractions, dealing with a percentage. So it's neater and it's easier to do comparison. So I know that 75% is 3/4, but what represents 3 and what represents 4? Can anyone help me with that? When I change 75% into into fraction, I get 3/4. But what does the 3 refer to? And what does the 4 referring to? Very good, very good. So 3/4 means children is now 3 units. And the people, yes. Now, when we say people, we refer to this is your total who remain. Okay, not total number of people at first, but people who remained at the theater. Okay, very good point. Okay, then once we understand the question, we can use the same method as what we did earlier on. Now, for those who already learned ratio, stick to your ratio method, no issue. Okay, for those who have not learned ratio, I'm using BCA method. Okay, I don't really recommend model drawing. If you want to do a model drawing, it's fine. But it's just that when you do cutting, you got to be very mindful. Otherwise, use units. It's more straightforward. But nothing wrong with model drawing. Okay, go ahead if you want to do model drawing. Okay, let me quickly draw up the BCA table. Single unchanged is one of the easiest concept. Don't you think so? It's much easier than your difference unchanged, total unchanged. They are the basic group of heuristic questions. Okay, in all our live sharing, we are focusing a lot on heuristic questions. Oh, sorry, not boys and girls. I'm still at last question. Adults, children, before, change, after. So we put in the same details. Adults is 2, children is 3. No, children is 1. 1 unit. Okay, now this case is 65 adults left the theater. So under my adults, I put subtract 65. And then what's remained? Your children became, remember here said 3 units. So 3 units. Well, for your adults, it's only 1 unit because total is 4. Out of these 4 parts, 3 of them are children. So the last one must be meant for my adults. Then I compare what remained unchanged. So if you take a look at the details, your children remain unchanged. So I want to make 1 and 3 becomes the same common multiple. So it becomes just 3. Now, of course, if they're given to you numbers like 2 and 5, then you have to find a common numbers and change both of their units. But in this case, I give you a much straightforward one. You only need to change once. So I'm changing this into multiplying each of them by 3. Therefore, my children can become 3 units and my adults is 6 units. Okay, I want to make sure my children remain the same. Once the numbers, the units for the children remain the same, we can compare the details for the adults. Now, it changes from 6 units to become 1 unit. So what is the difference in my number of units? Remember, it changes from 6 units to become 1 unit. So 6 unit, take away 1 unit is 5 units. And 5 units represent, sorry, Faliha, let me check for you, Noah. Okay, and then 1 unit will be 65 divided by 5. Now, what is 65 divided by 5? Anyone know what's the answer? 65 divided by 5? Yes, we can get as 13. Excellent. Now, question asks for number of people at the theater at first. Now, how many units are representing my at first? Very good, Bethany. Faliha, your answer is excellent. Okay, now at first referring to before. Okay, so 6 units plus 3 units is 9. So 9 units equivalent to 13 multiplied by 9 to get 117. So in my terms, the answer will be 170. Quite straightforward, right? So this is a simple question on single unchanged. Now do take note, when you're comparing the in the end or you're comparing at first, always use the units that we have changed. Now, common mistake, I see a lot of students when they're calculating the final answer, they say, oh, in the end it's 3 units. They take 2 units plus 1 unit. That is wrong. Comparing of the units must always use the final units that we have changed. Okay? Yes, Kagan, that is the last one. Okay, in each lesson, we will try to cover 2 questions. Now, any question for the first 2 concepts? Quite simple, right? Quite straightforward. Okay, now I'm going to share with you something interesting about the live sharing lesson. Now, for those of you, if your parents, we can borrow your parents' phone or anything. Okay, so key thing is we have created this Telegram group. So I'll be inside the Telegram group, and every week, because there is no homework given to you for the live sharing session, but I encourage you guys to join the Telegram group. When each live sharing session ends, I will post some extra questions in the Telegram group for you guys to try out. to ensure that you actually understand that particular concept. And this Telegram group is free, meaning that even you're not our current student, you're just joining the live sharing sessions. If there are any questions that you would like to ask regarding math questions, you can also post in the group. So it's like a platform where students can share information or share questions, and then you can help each other in answering and also to test a skill. Okay, so this Telegram group is for free. You can feel free to join the group. I'll be inside the group to answer your questions too. Okay, so this is something that is on top of your live sharing section. Now, every lessons will be going through one heuristic questions. Okay, then second thing is just to let you know that for Tenor P, we also offers like online programs. So these are some of the things that we are covering. And if during the whole holiday season you're pretty bored, we do have some holiday workshops coming up for all the English, mathematics, and science. So do feel free to join us if you're interested in any of the workshops. You can always go to our website to know more about it. So that is all for this week live sharing sessions. Next week, I'm covering on the total Unchanged. Okay, so recap, these are the 6 series for this season, this particular term. Okay, each time round, we introduce 6 series of work. So this is the first one, section 1 on single unchanged. Then we'll be covering total, unchanged, constant difference, all changing, equal concept, and work backwards. Okay, every week is one new term, and every lesson conducted, I will post an extra questions for you to revise. So the extra question will only be posted in the Telegram group. Okay, so do join us in the Telegram group so that I can actually send you guys all the materials. Okay, and feel free to feedback to us if you find the questions are too easy or too difficult. So these are good feedbacks to help us in improving the quality of the content. Okay, so any other question you would like to ask before I end off today's section? Any question? Okay, if there's no other questions, I'll see you guys during the next section. Goodbye.